Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode. Today, I am joined by Ina Todorova from CleanTech Bulgaria. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you for having me. Great pronunciation of the name and of the name of the company. It's not very often seen.
Okay.
So great preparation.
Thank you so much for that. That's a good way to start. I think all the listeners would like to know more about CleanTech and what programs you have there. Can you tell me about that?
Of course. Well, we have a lot of programs, so I'm gonna try to make a resume of everything, and then of course we remain available to provide more information upon request. So it's pretty self-explanatory, but still I'm going to mention that CleanTech Bulgaria is a Bulgarian company, and as we like to call ourselves, we are a business network for clean technologies. This is something that is at the core of our work, no matter if it's with entrepreneurs, startups, scientists, municipalities, basically everything we do. The organization is working very actively into producing resource-efficient solutions or also supporting the creation of those, shifting to new business models and completely adapting to the new demands on the labor market and in the industry in general. So having this said, we are working with all kind of stakeholders. So apart from the startups, of course, and the reason why I'm actually taking part in your great initiative, we are also working with students. So in the education sector, and here I mean both high school students and university students. We're working with municipalities, with the universities themselves. So with the lecturers as well, with the scientists on research and innovation. Yeah, we are pretty much covering a lot of sectors. It's good to mention that CleanTech Bulgaria is an official partner of EIT, the European Institute for Innovation and Technologies, back in I would say 2015, but to be honest, I think even before that, we have been the main contact and the main force breaking the ground for EIT in Bulgaria. We have been working with most of their knowledge and innovation communities on the topics of climate, energy, urban mobility, manufacturing, food, raw materials, and I hope I'm not missing any. But yeah, we're also very active under the programs like Erasmus Plus, Horizon, Interreg, Life, and this is again on the topic of the diverse initiatives that we have. This is pretty much in a nutshell, but I guess I will definitely share more about CleanTech Bulgaria throughout our conversation.
Yeah, we have a lot of details that we want to cover. I would like us to begin with, I know you have a program specifically for women only. Can you tell everyone more about that?
Yes, of course. We have been working in the field of supporting female entrepreneurship for already, I would say, 3 years. On one side, we are providing basically the same support for everyone who wants to become an entrepreneur or somehow be involved in the ecosystem. However, we also realized, it's not just us, of course, I think the whole society, that somehow women still need some additional and a bit of different support in order to step into that role. So we already had a couple of successful programs for supporting women entrepreneurship, which are closed, but currently together, or more, let's say, under the head of EIT Manufacturing, we have a program, and together, of course, with multiple partners, which aims to empower women in the manufacturing sector through leadership development. So it's a specific program for creating leadership skills and abilities within women in the manufacturing sector. I would say it's an educational program. So currently there is an open call both for mentors and for mentees. It's the name of the program, of course, the most important. It's called Strada. So more information can be found on the website stradawomen.eu. It's just starting now with the first batch of female leaders in the manufacturing sector, and until the end of the year, we're for sure going to have at least one more. So it's just now the perfect time for everyone who wants to know more, who wants to participate, who's looking for opportunities on the topic to take a look into that program.
Yeah, that's very interesting. I think we can link it down below so that everybody can check it out.
Definitely.
Have it easy accessible. But you mentioned that you need to have women entrepreneurs, they need a little bit of a different support. Can you tell me more about that? What that looks like?
Well, I can just give an example. Of course, it depends a lot on the country, on the market, because in this case, manufacturing is quite a challenging market for anybody in general. But somehow it's also a focus of many researchers who have somehow proven that women need more support when it comes to business skills and exactly those entrepreneurial skills. Some people call them soft skills. Somehow I have always believed that this framing doesn't give them the importance that they have. And here we don't talk only about communication skills, but going into negotiation, conflict resolution, teamwork, where of course the leadership comes naturally. And I strongly believe that the women, as much as men, could be great leaders. Here, what we aim at with our programs is to more or less provide to people in general the right tools that they can use. Because when we talk about effective communication, let's say, there's so many different situations and contexts where one tool can be way more powerful than another.
Yeah.
So I guess later on, when I also give you some more information about our programs, you see that it's all about preparing things and making them tailor-made. Okay. In order to suit the needs of the one who is actually receiving the support.
Yeah, can you tell me more about one specific program that you have that you would like to highlight as an example?
Well, maybe I can make it a bit more general and give you at the same time example of two programs that we have. We're very active into the startup ecosystem and the startup support. But of course, this is so general. I mean, supporting startups could mean basically anything. And it's the support that you need to provide to a team who just became incorporated and have a great idea, but they still have so many steps to make, is one thing, and then supporting a scale-up who is already advanced in their technical readiness and market readiness is a completely different thing. So we have two new initiatives starting from this year with a current duration of 2 years, but we will see it's a piloting phase. One of them is focused mainly on teams. So even the ones who are not yet incorporated and or on early stage startups. And the other one is focused mainly on scale-ups. So to make it maybe a bit more technical, I believe your viewers are probably already familiar, or maybe we can tell more about those technical readiness levels. When we talk about scale-ups, we mean idea which is more developed or at least on TRL 4.
Yeah, so you have a broad range of programs to support people who are in various different places in their journey.
Yes, absolutely. And we always aim to make it in a way that is, of course, as much as possible personalized. We have seen from practice that there are some topics, I'll give an example with the business development, that or business modeling, business plan development, which are very valuable for everyone. Because the business plan is something that you modify all the time based on the many factors actually. And there are others which can be more technical or more specific for one or two startups from the whole batch. So we try our best to somehow provide the most valuable things for each and every startup.
Mm. And in the work of providing a program for different startups, you also need to, for them to be successful, you need to have the right startups. How do you work to find the right startup for each program?
That's a very nice question, because here the another like contra question I have in my mind is, what does it mean to be a right startup? Like it could be that for one program, let's say if it's focused on a exact industry, or it aims something very specific, one startup is the right one and the other one is not, but then in a different context the roles can be switched. So if we talk about how we select the startups, of course we try to make sure that every program has its own procedure, but mainly it's based on a couple of things which are similar for every program. So one thing could be, as I gave you the example with the two programs that we have, the one for the early stage startups, which is actually called Entreprenedu, because it combines entrepreneurship and education. And then the second one, which is for the scale-ups, which is called Spread to Inno, so spreading the innovation. For them, for example, one difference is that for the first one, a criteria for a legal entity is not present on the evaluation list, whereas from the other one, when we are aiming at a more advanced startups, then one of the criteria would be that you are already incorporated. Of course, we try our best to assess the level of motivation and engagement with the thing, because it's a general challenge in the startup world that the success rate in, let's say, 3 to 5 years are not very big. So we all know that 1 out of 10 startups actually keeps existing after longer time. So this is one thing for sure. To throughout the conversation, actually, it's not even that much of a specific question, but throughout a conversation or an interview, or however we want to call it, to sense this spark that people have for the idea. This is very important, because even if we have a very fixed criteria, and some startups or teams, they don't cover all of them, knowing that they have the motivation and the will to get there is also something very valuable for us.
Okay, so there are multiple factors to look
Yes,
at.
absolutely.
And how do you decide the duration of each program? Do you have a different duration depending on what level of startup? Can you tell me more about that?
Yes, I would say it goes a bit the other way around. So we first decide what we want to provide to people. Let's say either we go for only educational part, mentorship and coaching, or there is also funding included. We make a kind of an action plan of what we want to achieve, and then trying to be as realistic as possible, decide on the duration of the program. So basically to make sure that we realistically plan all the activities and everything that we want to achieve in a fixed time span.
Okay. And you mentioned a bit more about about mentors previously. Can you tell me, how do you choose the right mentors, and what are the criteria that you're looking for when you're looking for mentors?
Okay, yes, of course. As I told you at the beginning, we are working under many varieties of topics. I mentioned energy, climate, food, manufacturing, and you can imagine that supporting entrepreneurship in all those sectors would require a totally different expertise coming from the mentors or the coaches. So we always, of course, we have a pool of experts who are already trusted by us, who we have already worked with. In one way or another, we are all the time scanning I would say, the market, the ecosystem for new people. And keeping track of their development. So at the moment that we know that we need such an expertise, either we put an open call, or if it's something very, very specific, we directly approach people. But again, here we follow very much the tailor-made approach. So we always do our best that the mentees' needs are on the first place. And in order to cover them, we need to find the best mentor.
Mm. Yeah, definitely. It's not a one size fits all. It's yeah, and especially for the women only program. Do you have only female mentors there as well?
Yes, yes, we do. We do have a pool of female mentors in. I strongly believe in all of the fields. So we could also give exactly those success stories of women who are already successful doing something in this field or in this industry or similar. Let's say, yeah, definitely. We always try to seek the female on a leadership position in each company we work with.
Mm. I think that's a good strategy to have. When it comes to different trends or different demands that are with this whole like ever-changing market, how do you keep up with trends and the different demands?
Yeah, that's a big challenge, I would say, that we are facing, and this is also where our wide expertise comes from. So this is also the reason why we are covering so many sectors and not focusing on just one. Of course, CleanTech has started with just a few of them, let's say energy and climate, and then with the years of working and building expertise, the rest of the sectors also came. And I would say this is based exactly on what you're saying, that it's a market demand, it's a trend. Last year when the new European Innovation Agenda was introduced, the topic of deep tech was raised so much that it somehow now seems that it as if it didn't exist before that, because people were not talking that much about it. But once it was given this voice by the European Commission and putting the importance on it, now all kind of programs for supporting deep tech, it's just exploding. So yeah, I would say definitely the provision of support is based on the market demand. And also we do not underestimate the fact of the trend of something being popular. Let's say, I don't know, 6 years ago, it was super innovative and popular to have a startup which is working under sustainability or climate change, adaptation, mitigation, and so on. And now it's something normal. Of course, still many people go for that cause, which is great. But now more and more new things are taking the place of the most popular one, I would say. And it's all dynamic. It's changing, I don't know, every month, if not every day.
Definitely.
But that's the beauty of it, because it brings so much diversity and exchange of expertise that it just enriches the ecosystem.
Yes, yeah, it really does. And yeah, it's such a important thing to be able to be on top of all the demands, to be able to because it's not just the startup founders who has to be adaptable and quick to change. It's also the programs. So it's a symbiosis in that sense.
Absolutely, absolutely. And this is where I believe it also comes the um, huge variety of programs that we see in the last 2 3 years, um, which is great, I believe. It could be that on the first sight, some of them do all the same, but I wouldn't completely agree with that, especially with the following of the tailor-made approach. Like for the incubators, accelerators who are really focused on providing the best to the startups, I believe it doesn't matter if they cover all the same topics. I mean, after all, there is pretty much one way to create a business out of something. So it's normal that they cover the same topics, but the approaches and the support provided could be completely different.
Yes, exactly. I wanted to ask you about, it's like considered a bit of the million-dollar question, but how do you work towards securing funding? That is usually the biggest problem for people who want to start programs. Do you have any tips and insights?
Yeah, well, there is a sea of opportunities out there, I would say. I know that quite some people are skeptical on this topic, but I really believe that every year there are new and new programs who provide funding for such initiatives, going from just mentioning Horizon Europe. There are so many new opportunities, again, coming from the start of the new European Innovation Agenda. Of course, yes, you're not doing it all alone, but this is only making it better and better, that you have the chance to form a consortia with like-minded people, with another incubators, accelerators, either in the country or on the European level, and actually join forces, exchange good practices, and still somehow sustain the knowledge that you want to provide to people.
Mm. So essentially look a little bit here and there and more support is on the rise? Is how...
Absolutely. Of course, it's not to forget about local partnerships from institutions, from companies, from tech parks, from, I don't know, co-working spaces. It could be that sometimes you don't need that much funding when you have the so-called in-kind contribution from your partners. You know, one will provide you a hall for a training, another one will provide you some experts to mentor your teams. Um, yeah, well, national funding, it's also definitely worth mentioning. Of course, this depends on the regulation of each country, but it's also another way of doing it.
Mm. Yeah, there is no one answer to this. It's really, it's way more complicated than that. So that's why it's good to hear from somebody who knows and who can give a little bit of advice on that. Can you tell me something about the partnerships that you have?
Yeah, well, we have a very wide network both within the borders of Bulgaria and outside of them. In Bulgaria, I would say we are partnering with all the key players and institutions who can support the work that we do. I told you that, for example, we are working also in education, so we are partnering with over 50 schools along the whole country. So we always try to, this is also important for on the topic of startups and supporting entrepreneurs. It's important to not only focus on the big cities, because then, of course, there are more enthusiasts to do something like this, but also spreading the knowledge and the skills and bringing them to the rural areas. So to make sure that everyone has the same opportunities for development. Additionally, we work with many municipalities, with ministries. Depending on the topic of our work, we so far we could say that the institutions are welcoming a lot any innovative solutions and ideas to enrich our lives. Because at the end, it comes to this. This is why startups exist. This is why someone gets the spark for entrepreneurship, because he or she or however they identify, they would like to create something to solve a struggle someone else has in life.
Yeah, that's definitely really true. It has been such a pleasure talking to you today. Before we wrap this up, would you like to add anything? Do you feel like there's something that people should know?
I believe that everyone who means to provide and to support others in their development, they are already on the right track. I would again say there's a sea of opportunities for new practices, good ones or bad ones. We can still learn from both. So I would encourage everyone who either wants to support startups or in entrepreneurship, and everyone who wants to try out, because there are many people with great ideas just needing this little push to make something great. I would say go for it, and if we can support somehow, we are always welcoming and providing the requested information.
Definitely. I think that's a perfect way to end it. Thank you so much for talking to me today.
Thank you very much for having us, and already looking forward to another episode that we can do, because there's so much information that we can share, and I will also provide you some of the links that we mentioned, if possible, to put below. So yeah, we definitely remain available.
Exactly. We maybe need to do a part 2 on this, so everyone keep
No problem.
an eye out for that. All right. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much.